Good evening, friends. Welcome back to our Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire roleplay campaign After the Fire. We are back with, ready for you sports fans out there, the final of the Grand Melee. Look, Westeros Sport is literally this tonight, so it wasn't like a weird segue. I was, making sense and stuff. We have a chocker cast tonight. And Ashley is back to guest. So let me go round, have a chat with everybody and see how we're all doing. Charlie has had like a week off. How's it feel, friend? It's every holiday. How? Well, nope. I am looking at going up and down. Sam, we hear. Oh.
At work.
It changed my right. So now you guys should be. Yes, here we are.
Pickles.
Well done, OBS.
No. So thanks to some Windows update or something, it changed the desktop sound source. But okay, Charlie Smith, you were talking about not coming back from your holiday.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great time. I was a cowgirl in a very virtual doll's house for a whole week and did fuck all else, and it was great. And now I'm back, and I have to remember how to be a Westerosi lady and do my job. And how to do makeup was a whole thing today. But I'm glad. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see how this season wraps up for the After the Fire crew, because it's been a whole thing.
It has indeed.
And I'm super, super excited to have Queenie with us again today.
Yeah.
Most excited.
I thought I couldn't have Maekar fight in the final without, and possibly, the whole political thing just turned upside down, without a reaction from Queenie.
Without a reaction from his mum.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking of turning politics on its head, Miria Greenmont here, played by the wonderful Susanna Grace. How you doing, friend?
Good, I'm good. I have also been away for a long weekend. It was Thanksgiving in Canada recently, so I don't know how to function as a human anymore. So this is going to be fun, and I don't know how to play role-playing games anymore. So I'm gonna lose and die horribly and tragically, and it's going to be really fun. I can't wait.
It's been like a week or two at most for us friends.
How bad
it's
is
not
it
this
though
hard.
that we take like a week and we just shut down?
I don't know.
We're so busy that like, but anyway, yeah. So I can't wait to murder Maekar in front of his mother, murder Samuel, murder the Sword of the Morning, and murder Ellery.
I mean, or they could yield. That's an option.
Well, they could, yeah. They could yield if they're cowards. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have some high-stakes fights tonight. I should be very excited about that. I am very excited for Samuel this week. We are going to see his reaction to what's been happening, and also Don's sick dice rolling, which I'm sure will be impressive. How are you doing, Don?
I'm great. I have been on a hot streak with dice recently. We'll see if it continues today. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm playing in the background this entire session. Phil Collins' classic. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. And that's how I feel about this Grand Melee tournament, because I feel like I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And this season's been amazing. I've loved the entire stretch that it's been so focused on this one event in like a span of a few days. It's so different from kind of the rest of the campaign that we've done so far. Yeah. But I'm ready. I'm feeling good. Limber. I stretched this morning.
In preparation. Amazing. And so, V, how are you doing, and looking forward to potentially being a disruptive technology in the Westeros world?
I mean, possibly. We'll see how things go. It depends what kind of hell breaks loose and when. I've never been more afraid for fictional characters in my life than I have been for this session. I don't want anybody to die, but there's somebody's gonna die is my prediction.
and I'm terrified for Mara because I'm convinced she's going to end up a widow and not in the way that she wants to be one. It's just I'm excited, and it feels like it's been forever since we played, and I know it hasn't been, but like time doesn't exist anymore, so like a week may as well be like 20 years at this point. Who knows?
Yeah. Speaking of someone I really haven't spoken to for a little while, actually, Tom. How are you doing, friendo?
Hello.
Have you been a cowboy as well?
I have been a cowboy for a bit, but not quite a cowboy, like a normal cowboy. I basically just took Enzo from here and stuck it in Wild RP and just carried on. It was a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
Tom, who's the other character you play though?
There are two other characters that I play. One is called the Colonel, and the other one is called Queenie, or Swamp Queen. So
right,
yeah, you can tell what voice I do for her.
Yes, Tom.
All right then. There you go. But I am excited to be playing back to, because it's been a while for me with After the Fire. It has been a while. I have an excuse, unlike Susie, to not be able to figure out how this game plays because it's been a lot longer for me. But I'm excited to get back. I'm excited to kind of see how this grand melee kind of turns out, and just all the intrigue and basically just it all just going. That's what I'm excited to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And back with us again for the third week is the wonderful Mrs. Webby. Ash, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. You?
Yeah, I mean, you saw me half like 20 minutes ago, so I'm there.
Been a tough 20 minutes.
It has, yeah. But yeah, are you looking forward to stuff? If you had to pick between our combatants, we've got Miria with her speary goodness. We've got Samwell with his like Tarly greatsword. We've got literally one of the best knights in Westeros, the Sword in the Morning, Sir Lewin Dane. We've got Sir Ellery Peak, Miria's Reacher boyfriend, and then we've got your son Maekar Targaryen.
I don't really care who wins as long as it's juicy.
That's a good answer. I like that.
Need some blood, need some death. It's not a tourney without death.
Right? They're not meant to kill each other.
I mean,
it's a lot harder to pretend to deceptively kill someone in this than it is in the joust. Let me tell you.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
Is Queenie gonna go Roman? Is she gonna, with the thumb?
Finish him.
I don't think that's quite the sport. I don't think that's it. Cool. All right. We do our little mentions and stuff. So we are in the Roll20 spotlight using the hashtag on the Twitters and stuff. So we get a bit of a shout out from them. Roll20 is a really good platform that I've used for a long time. Pro account as well, and I think it's well worth it. I even just knocked up a quick little personal scale map for us today, just so I can know roughly where people are. Super simple to get into. And very not too hard to master either. Managed to knock this together in a few minutes, which is pretty cool. And then it has been a pretty exciting time for us friends at Black Cats Gaming. We have been working very hard the last couple of weeks with layout just to finish off the PDF version of the core rulebook. So that is with backers right now and is available, as long as you don't tell anybody, right now on Drive-Thru RPG. We're having a big push for it tomorrow, but you can get it right now if you head over there and search for it. Look for Black Cats Gaming on our on the kind of publishers side of things. You can also head over to blackcatsgamingshop.com, which I'll knock up some cool graphics for at some point very soon, I'm sure. So we'll have it on the nice overlays and stuff, and you can grab it from us directly. That obviously helps us out a little bit more, as we're not on a third-party platform. So yeah, please do check it out. We have had lots of really cool comments so far, and I've been really happy with the response we've been getting. You can check out my writing and design, Susie's artwork, a lot of cool people. Virginia as well wrote us up some stuff for it, so a lot of cool people involved, and you can support all of us by checking that out. But I think that was everything I needed to cover. Let me check my notes from the illustrious James. Obviously, we've got some the materials coming on the website as well that you can get through that blackcatsgamingshop.com platform. So you can get film fillable character sheets and stuff like that. There'll also be some safety tool documents going up, knocked up some lines and veils stuff earlier in the week. So all that kind of stuff will be up there for you as well, available. And we got some nice little wallpapers as well, if you wanted to show your appreciation for that as well. And then we'll have some actual plays and stuff coming up shortly as well. We're just ironing out the kinks and getting people involved in that too. All right. So without further ado, let us get on with this tournament. We left things in Westeros, and you'll have to help me out here, friends. Literally on the cusp of the beginning of the Melee final. It's early in the afternoon. There had already been a semi-final round in the morning. Lined up were our competitors in glistening armor in the cool afternoon sun in this valley with the Red Mountains. We had Sir Ellery Peake managed to get through into the final. His orange surcoat, bright in the sun, with the 3 dark castles embroidered on the front. His dark was like a proper kind of iron-coloured armour, providing a lot of contrast to that. And he is wielding a traditional bastard sword and large shield, again emblazoned with his house colours of orange and the 3 black castles. Next to him stood, probably a good foot taller, is Maekar Targaryen. Prince, broad and strong, built like a brick shit house, and covered head to toe in perfectly fitting full plate. Enamelled black and red, with his crest of 4 Targaryen dragons across his chest. Next to him, thinner but almost as tall, Sir Lewin Dane, the sword in the morning. His purple tabard over glistening silver armour. In hand, a replica blunted sword known as Dawn, I believe. Yes. Polished and made to try and look like the comet metal material that the sword was traditionally forged from. He holds that great sword down with the back of one hand, and it goes up across his shoulder and towards the back of his neck and above his head. Stood next to him is an outsider of this competition, Miria Greenmont. Slightly shorter than the rest. Spear in hand, shield strapped to the other arm. Susie, what does she look like? What does her armor look like now?
Miria is wearing the dark scale armor that Enzo had acquired for her, but this time she has ditched the great helm that she had been wearing for the rest of the tournament because that thing was awful. It was sweaty. She couldn't see shit in it. And she has an open-faced sort of Dornish style helmet, which is very much like Mughal Persian style with like a chain around and like a helmet here that's open at the front. She does have like a scarf up around her nose and mouth just to protect from the dust and the sand of the arena. But she is wearing, her clothing is pretty simple. It's pretty stark and plain, but she does have like a yellowy gold sash around her waist and like a little bit of tassets going on. And some like, she looks like well equipped. She looks like she knows what she's doing in her gear. It's like well maintained, but she's standing quite confidently as she's eyeing up her opponents.
And next to her, again, stood a good foot or so taller, is Sir Samwell Tarly. Don, what does he look like just now? And what's he wielding?
Samwell is about 6.5 feet tall, very, very tall, broad shoulder, but still fairly thin. He's wearing full plate steel armor, painted green, Tarly green. The shoulders are etched with golden vines and branches, and in a diamond shape emblazoned across the center of his breastplate is a pattern of small alternating golden and metallic red arrows etched into the armor. He has tucked at his side a green full helm with a face guard that's forged to look like crisscrossing vines. And over his shoulder, held almost like a baseball bat, is a replica blunted version of his great sword, which is, it's not as fancy as his dad's, but it's still fairly fancy. And the replica is not as shiny as the Sword in the Mornings, but there's still been some money and care put into the forging of this blunted weapon. It's got a long ivory hilt that ends in a golden pommel that's been crafted into the likeness of a roaring bear. And his eyes are just drifting across the others. There's large circles under them. He looks a little tired today, and he's got 1 day's worth of worry and growing scruff that he would usually keep shaven, but he hasn't shaved this morning. And his eyes fall to Miria if he's standing next to Miria, last of all, looking at her through that open face of her helm. And then he takes in a breath and he'll just start fastening his helm over his head to his gorget.
Oh, we'll pause your time there just a second as we just check in with Marzia, Enzo, Mariah, and Mara. I imagine up at the box, Queen Mariah still has a place in the central chair. Marzia, I'd imagine you are in attendance with Lord Bryn, and Enzo is accompanying you at the stand. Is there anything that you will have set up? You will have placed people? The stands are very full, and
that Salastria is with Marzia today
Mhm.
because she had Salastria with her when she met with her other son, with Whelan, and she just kept the cat beside her. And so I imagine Bryn is in Marcia's lap right now. She'll probably send him over to his own seat at some point, but for now she's with her. He's with her, and then Salastria is probably just sprawled in the sun at everyone's feet, not giving a shit who's there.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. And Mara, you are stood within the crowd. You have Sir Glendon Tarly with you.
Mara was heading to the tents where they'd have put on all of their armor. She doesn't want to get near the crowds. She wants to wait somewhere quiet for Samwell. So if she can get in there and maybe find Gregor, she'll try and watch from those side points. I imagine they're off the edge of the spawning arena.
Yeah, there's the Champions Glade that just about has a line of sight onto this.
Or the stands, anywhere that she can get away from the crowd that's kind of private-ish, where she can wait for Samwell, because as soon as he comes off the field, she wants to talk to him.
Roll for me a sneak. Sorry, it's stealth is a skill, isn't it? And there's a blend in specialty. And have a.
We're not gonna have any of that.
have a keep dice for the number of people around you, because this is packed now. The stands
she's still
are
got
full.
her hood up and
fielding
herself with the Tarly guards and stuff as they're there.
The stands are full of nobility, and the crowd, the small folk crowd.
It's 9.
Okie dokie. 9 altogether. And the small folk crowd have spilled over to almost form a horseshoe around the fences. only leaving a narrow kind of field of view for the stands and the nobility. But they have a view, most of them at least, over the top of the crowd. Samuel, as you're strapping your gorget around your neck and preparing your helm, you see a couple of your father's men. In the first row of just part of that horseshoe of the crowd that they've positioned themselves to be able to catch your eye, and that is what they are trying to do. As soon as you see them, it's obvious to you. As you're all the competitors behind the fence, just preparing, they're reluctant, but you can see them judging the fence, looking at the other competitors, and you even hear one of them essentially kind of stage whisper, "My lord," to you.
He finishes fastening his helm to his armor, and he turns his head just to the side. He doesn't want to turn his body. He doesn't want to look like he's not in this moment with some of the best knights in the realm, some very important people. But he does want to know what they're trying to say. So he turns his head to them, and they could probably catch his eyes through the crisscrossing binds of his face mask.
They are essentially opposite you at the moment. This is where they've managed to get themselves in the crowd. So they are, we're looking at our kind of little battle map. They are essentially on that other side, in between Sir Lewin and Maekar, where they are preparing. Probably, you would imagine that it wasn't that they could, because the crowd can't really get that close to the competitors. This was about being in your line of sight and getting you to see them. And they're essentially carrying on to do the same. In order to have a conversation with them, especially discreetly, then you would have to cross the field, essentially, across the little 20 ground bit you've got, just up to the opposite fence, in between Sir Lewin and Prince Maekar.
He clears his throat. His face tightens with concern. It's hidden beneath his helm. He straightens his back. He flips his sword, his great sword, around in a circle and brings it up and salutes, and then readies it into position for the start of the melee. He does not cross, but he does keep their eye contact as he's doing so.
Okay. As the competitors get into position, it is up to our hosts to start the competition. Charlie, would you essentially like Bryn to do so? Would you invite Queen Mariah to do so?
I think if Mariah looks engaged and interested, it would have been offered to the Queen to do so. But if she's just kind of chilling, having her Westerosi weathers, then Bryn would probably do it.
What's Ash? What's Mariah looking like then?
She'll probably want Bryn to do it. Kind of just see how he starts the competition. It'll be quite interesting, actually.
All right, so Marcia will set her son down, and let him go to the edge of the box, and say his welcome to the, what was it, Tournament of the Southern Kingdoms?
Yeah, that was your title.
The start of the Grand Melee. And then I imagine there's some knight there who repeats everything he says about 6,000 times louder because he's a 5-year-old and doesn't know how to project shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Hasn't got the vocal cords for it. Yeah, he does so. He essentially outlines This is 50-second Hunger Games. We have 5 champions today that represent the best of the Southern Kingdoms, but that only one champion can be crowned today. And he says some... Well, no, I mean, Charlie, would he... I was going to say he says something kind of, pious about the warrior or the 7 or something. Would you kind of instruct him to say that? Or is he having a bit more of a mixed religious upbringing, or?
I imagine he's just excited and he's, he wants to get to them fighting, and so he maybe like stumbles over it, and so it's like something about the warrior and everybody fight, like it's that kind of an energy, and like fight is the loudest word out of his face for the entire thing.
Nice. All right. And then with the words "everybody fight," Samuel is in a ready position. The knights around you are ready as well. Let's roll initiative. Let's see who is quick off the mark and is ready before we finish the narration, for sure.
And as Bryn takes his seat, he says that he hopes Miria wins.
Nice.
That's right, Sam. Says Miria.
That's my baby brother. Not, but yes, but no.
Okay. This is not taking into account the armor penalty, folks, so just a reminder of that. So you will need to deduct your armor penalty from that. So Lewin, for example, actually got a 5.
Oh, I got a 10 then in that case.
Not bad.
Okay.
You have to bear with me,
Use a bonus
friends.
die on...
In chat, I have 3 NPCs to control, 3 important NPCs. Wow, Makar's ready. That's a 15. And Don, you wanted to use one of your bonus dice?
Die.
Cool, no worries.
So that'll be a 12.
Very cool. You are prepared. Quick off the mark. Ellery is definitely last with a 1. Cool.
Ellery, please.
You're going to show him up here, I think.
Theory, you can't marry him.
Yeah. Okay, so just for my clarity's sake, and we want to get straight into it. Oh wow, that is quite a few bonus dice. Thank you so much for me. 2 keep dice for me. Oh,
Oh dear.
oh no. Where are the test dice? Nice. Okie dokie. So we only have to do this once. I will just make it clear for myself, and then we can get hopefully smoothly into the actual conflict. So Makar's going first. Then it's Don. You said it was actually
It's actually an 11.
11. And then Susie, what was yours?
10 for Miria.
10. Okay, so it is then Samuel, Miria, and then Sir Lewin. Then it was Ellery. Okay. Makar charges forward on hearing the young lord shout, "Fight!" He charges straight in towards Samuel Tarly in the green. And so I will make a charge attack. There'll be a penalty die for the charge, but he will get +2 base damage, I think. So we are going with... So he has that big maul in 2 hands that he charges forward with and then brings down on you there. So I'll do the 1 penalty to dice there, and that is a 28 versus your combat defense.
Well, I wasn't going to use this yet, but I am going to use my Oathbound trait to increase my passive by 5, my passive defense.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Maybe I shouldn't. 28's really high. Hold on. Let me do the math real quick. 8, 11, 16.
I've got all their combat defenses marked out in blocks of 5, so I can just look and know where we are.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. My combat defense.
That's the thing. Is it going to change much?
It's not going to change it at all, so I won't use it here.
Okay.
That's a hit.
Okie dokie.
It's a hit with 3 crits.
With 3 crits, which gives us a bloody wound. You're going to take an injury as he brings this down on you. Probably like a shoulder injury. So it would just be a -1. So apply the injury to your character sheet. Just be a -1 on your test results. If you can't take an injury, you take a wound. But I think we're okay for now. Here's base damage, because it should just tell me the base damage, I think. Oh, the modifier is 2. There we go. Boom. Cool. So how many degrees of success?
Yeah, that's 4 degrees.
So that is 48. No, what's 4 times 8?
Well, yeah, it'll be 32 minus my armor, right?
32. Thanks, Ash. Ash can do maths for me. Minus your armor, minus your AR.
22.
Yes.
22, and then, I mean, I have to take a wound.
Okay.
An incredible hit.
So this maul comes smashing down onto your shoulder, cracking the armor, the shoulder armor, the pauldron that you've got on the side there, and as it crumples and crunches, it just cracks one of your collarbones, just on the left-hand side. And you can, Miri, you just hear that click rather than the crunch of metal on the left-hand side, as Samuel gets to retaliate.
She resists the urge to throw up a little.
It's in the mouth a little
So,
bit.
I
Don.
think, yeah, so the blow, like Samuel's ready, right? And he takes a step back and he feints with his greatsword, and he swirls it around and he feints again, thinking that he's pulled just out of Makar's charge range, but he hasn't. And it comes in and strikes him. He feels the crack. It forces him down to one knee. And I think, like, through the haze of his face mask and his eyes, like he's staring beyond Makar for just a moment, like through the crowd across to the other side.
You can see the desperate eyes of those two Tarly men as they watch this melee. They're still fixed eyes on you.
And he takes a catch breath in that second, and he is going to try to push up off of his knee, off of his back leg, shifting his weight to his other shoulder that's not cracked. And what he's going to try to do, like pushing in as close as he can to Makar, is drive his blunted sword, his great sword, straight up. What kind of helm is Makar wearing?
I imagine he is wearing a decent full helm with what kind of a pointed I don't know, armor, but like a bit like the front of a ship is kind of pointed, and just a narrow slit for the eyes, and it's got ornamental. The three-headed dragon is on top of his helm, enameled in red. It's like thick gorget, and like everything's all, chained up and layered. Very well made.
Samuel's very accurate swordsman, but he's got a broken collarbone, and he knows that if he misses this shot, like he's not gonna, he can't. He's gonna have to yield. He's gonna fail. He's gonna fall if he doesn't do something right away. And so when he pushes up, he spins and pronates the grip on the greatsword so that it's flat, and he tries to drive it up at an angle, and he's gonna try to hit that slit.
Wow.
I'm going to use a reckless attack.
Okay.
Because I'm going to counter the wound that I have. And I'm going to sacrifice all of my bonus dice to use my great sword ability that I've not used before.
Nice.
For a brutal hit.
Okay.
So it'll actually just be this -1 because I have an injury as well. $17.
A 17 is going to land you 3 degrees of success.
Okay. That's going to be 27 damage plus an automatic wound in addition to any other wounds I add.
Yeah, okay. And his armor is going to you kind of skid up his helm as he tries to step back and tries to move around you in order to shake it off. And I think just because we're 2 heavy hitters, which describe a bit more each round than just a kind of a single
Sorry,
blow.
I got it wrong. It's 33 damage.
33
I got a critical as well.
Cool.
Plus an automatic wound.
Yeah. And I think you try a couple of times, just trying again and then again, and like he's trying to kind of wield the maul around, kind of around his head, trying to shake it off with the butt of his weapon a little bit. But there's just that final time where you actually push through, and you hit the you feel like you hit the back fully to the back of the visor. How far you've actually dug into the flesh inside, you're not sure, because of the blunted nature of the weapon as well. There's going to be a bit more kind of crunching, but there is like blood splatter that comes out of the visor of the helm, and he staggers back for a moment. On their right-hand side, Miria, you're up next. Sir Lewin Dane looks like he's stepping forward. He doesn't actually look like he's stepping forward. He is looking in a more defensive position, as you are a bit quicker than him, but he is kind of looking and ready, and he's seen Maekar charge, and he's kind of stood ready, and then he's kind of flipped back at you. So he's very aware and nimble, but he is being quite tactical.
Okay, cool. So Maria is gonna just like slowly advance towards him. And she's being semi-cautious, but she's gonna just come up and just give him a standard attack, just a little probe of his defenses. So she's not gonna like rush up like Maekar did. She's just gonna be quite methodical, slow down. She's remembering Francis II like yelling at her for being reckless. So she's trying to, at the beginning at least, have some technique. And she's just going to sort of like try and come around him a little bit, test his defenses. So she's just going to make a standard attack against him, which is going to be, I believe, I need to do a custom roll for this. 6, drop 2 plus 1, a 17.
17 is going to get you 2 degrees of success.
Okay, and that is my agility, so that would be 6. So it's just a little dink.
Little 18. 3 degrees.
Oh, it was 3 degrees? Yeah, it'd be 18.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do then... Oof. Oh, that's fine. So what does this look like from her spear and shield technique? I mean, he's wielding that great sword as well, so
yeah,
there's plenty of target.
basically he doesn't have a big board shield to get around, and she's trying to, I think she feints in one direction to get him to block with the sword. And while he's bringing it up, and it's a big sword, right? So while he's bringing it up to defend, she's like straight under and just gives him like a little she's going for a spot that's less protected, from the armor. She's going for one of the weak spots, so she comes in for like a body jab as he is trying to get defensive with this big thing.
Yeah, as you're probing him with these attacks, he, like you say, he is actually quite nimble with that sword. And it's kind of at this moment that you notice, or you can get more of a kind of first-hand appreciation from, with training with a spear, you are often training with other spearmen. But this, you think, heavy weapon, big weapon, it's going to take him a while. He's got to swing round every hit. Whereas actually, all he really needs to do is just pivot that weapon, and he's like just deflecting, and that's all he needs. It just kind of like deflects up to the left, to the right, chinks off the armor. Oh my god! Thank you so much for all the subs. We've just got a load of gift subs. Thank you so much.
I think it's like one of the really cool like wuxia, like the Chinese martial art movie when Miri is like doing some fancy spear work and he's just like ding ding defecting it, and then she just gets past him. Yeah. And then she kind of backs up again and she hunkers with her spear. Yeah.
And I think that moment where you actually get through to him, there's just like a chink in the armor. You actually get through, that you hit a bit of the portion, it skims off the side, glances off the side of the armor, and then you both step back, and there's just a second where the two of you have eyes locked.
Beneath her mask, she's smiling, like she's like, yeah, there's rules.
All right. So you move forward there to engage him. He is going to move back round a little bit, just to this side. So you almost had him kind of up against the fence a little bit, just against the kind of rope fence that marks off the match area. And then he makes sure he's not backed onto a side, into like a corner. So he's moving around tactically. I'm going to give him a cautious attack here as he tries to use that great sword offensively this time. There's a couple of thrusts, a stab, and then he's kind of swinging it down onto you is the intent. So he is going to
this is where I die. I can't look.
No modifier, but I'm going to drop the 1. It's going to be a 14.
That is my defense rating.
Wait a minute.
That seems really low.
No, that wasn't right. I didn't calculate right.
I'll take it. I mean, it was rolled. Fuck. It was worth the shot.
Oh, Sir Lewin, come on, mate.
I don't think I will marry this one.
That was rubs. That was
that's 1 degree of
rubs.
success.
Okay, so I think it's base damage on that, just 1 degree, is going to be 10.
Okay.
He's a chunky boy. Yeah, he's stabbing, he's thrusting, he's trying to find that weak spot around your shield as well. And then it's one of the heavier hits that finally lands and maybe glances off. Because if you haven't taken anything, I imagine it takes just a few bits of health off you. So it just means you're a bit winded, or you've got a bit less energy in you to fight it off.
Yeah, she got clobbered by a big fucking sword,
But they are quick attacks, and he is a very skilled long swordsman. Oh, great swordsman. He has long blades. Okay, nice. Okay. You then notice out of the corner of your left eye, or at least your periphery there, that Ellery is just starting to move up behind Sir Lewin. Coming up on Sir Lewin's right-hand side, to his back. And he is going to make a standard attack. With his bastard sword, just in one hand. Does a 15 to Sir Lewin, is 2 degrees of success. and is going to deal 5 damage. So it's incredible to watch, but from not really, well, you thought at least, Sir Lewin having noticed Ellery up behind him, so Ellery goes in to take just a swing at his midriff, towards his hip, and just as that sword strike has come down on you, glanced off the armor, winded you a little bit, he's actually followed through with a swing, and he's taken Ellery's strike dead on, and they are just for a second in one of those like sword locks, just before Sir Lewin just pushes him away, and it's like with ease pushes him away, and this tall, like nimble swordsman actually looks stronger than it seems stronger than he appears. What do we get in terms of reaction from the crowd, from the box? Particularly Enzo, having seen probably his one of his first full melees and stuff.
I think Enzo is really getting into it. He's got probably a glass of wine in one hand, and he's probably focusing more on Miria. One, because she's a friend, and two, because I want to make it canon. I put a dragon on her to win.
All right.
So,
yeah, sure.
So I imagine the odds were very favorable for me if she wins. So I think I can repair my ship with my winnings. I'm hoping.
Right.
So
you got a dragon on it.
So he's going to enjoy it. He's kind of, but at the same time, as he's doing that, he's going to be looking out in the crowd as well, see how the crowd are enjoying it. See if there's any subtle movements or anything like that, or something that may be a bit unusual. But I think he's just sitting back and enjoying it, really. But he will keep an eye on the crowd.
Roll a... I was about to say spot hidden then. Roll for me a awareness test.
Okay.
Notice bonus dice.
Okay. Anything in notice? No. That will be 26.
Oh, okay. As you see Prince Maekar bring his maul down on Samwell's shoulder, because you're a duelist as well. And so you notice that really it takes a moment to process, and they're fighting, and Samwell's now pushing his sword up against Maekar's helm. That it just twigs, and you kind of have a little, think to yourself that was a mistake. His attention was elsewhere, and you kind of have a little look around the crowd, and having followed where you think his attention was, and you can see two Tarly men tabarded up in the green with the red huntsman on their back, and most definitely emblazoned on their front. And so you think whatever of that.
Okay.
But then as you're looking around the crowd, and as Miria starts to fight, you're enjoying that, and as Ellery comes up behind Sir Lewin, it's it's a great little fun ganging up kind of tactic. But you have a look around the crowd, as you just said, just to see what the reaction was, and you take in from the top of those stands the kind of whole crowd, this massive crowd in this horseshoe shape from the small folk, and you have a look around as well, and then you kind of look over and just happen to glance over at the champions ground, where the pavilion tents are, and you see you catch the glance of a hooded figure.
Okay.
If it's important, Mara is actually wearing one of Samwell's cloaks. It's one of his that he's had made that's covered in the kind of same vine pattern that he has on his armor and lots of other stuff. That's what she's got, this kind of large, oversized, hooded cloak.
And then surrounding the hooded figure are Tarly guards and Sir Glendon Tarly, if you would know him. Okay, so
I probably would have heard of him, but maybe not have met him.
in noble garb.
I suppose I would say he's a noble, I guess. I would know that.
Yeah, in noble garb, an older man with a full brown beard with flecks of white hair, or white and ginger hair in it.
Does he look kind of similar to Samwell?
Is looking on. At this distance, I wouldn't say that you can tell.
Okay. And he's dressed in full garb.
He's dressed in like noble, full noble garb, and is in the house colours. So,
okay.
A relative, a lordling, maybe the lord. But he is being flanked by that group of Tarly guards as well.
Interesting. Okay.
But they are stood further away from everyone else, kind of tucked a little bit behind a pavilion tent.
I mean, in Enzo's mind, that seemed a bit unusual. If it is someone important of the Tarly family, surely, and it looks like with all the guards around, surely they would want to see the heir to the Tarly house compete. So he's a bit odd about that, and he'll kind of lean over to Marcia, just subtly, enjoying it, just smiling, and lean over to whisper in her ear, and my lady, it would seem that young Samuel was slightly distracted by two of his household guards. And he kind of will point them out in the crowd to Marcia. And then we'll kind of, not look in the direction, but will, and also, there seems to be a small gathering of Tarly at the champion tents. And he'll smile and have a sip of wine and just look back at the fight.
My understanding that Lord Samwell doesn't get on with his father.
Very well. Just thought you would...
Distractions are dangerous, though. Braith, go and have the medics readied. And Marcia's eyes are just on the field, because there's a lot of people she cares about on this field. She really couldn't give two shits about Tarly fucking about with guards.
Yeah,
fair enough. Mara, as you and Sir Glendon watch from far away, you don't see very clearly the tactics that Samuel is employing, but you hear a gasp from the crowd as the crunch of armor and the kind of blunt metal noise of sword on helm is being hit again and again.
I don't think Mara even watches that very beginning bit, because she's also trying to keep her face hidden, because she knows that obviously the stands can still see them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think she's even like visibly watching, because she doesn't want to face head on. I think she's kind of posing as if she's kind of talking to Glendon. She's got that kind of half side on. And I think there's a bit of out the corner of her eye, she watches Maekar go in for that charge, and she can't even look. Like, she is terrified. And I think there's probably a reaction from Glendon, and whatever that reaction is tells her what's happened when she hears that crunch of metal.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even say anything. She's just looking at him like, are you going to tell me if this is bad? Is this bad?
Yeah, there is a ooh. And then as you're looking away, he says, no, he's still up. He's still fighting.
And I imagine, like, as Samuel gets back up, there's probably some cheers from the crowd, because everybody loves it when you bounce back from a horrible hit. And then she finally lets out a breath,
Just as you do and you look over, you're hearing like a booing from a corner of the crowd. At the same time, at least, you don't necessarily. I don't think the two of you are aware of it, but at the time that Samuel is trying to jam his sword into the eye slit of Maekar's helm, the dirtiest move we've seen yet, I think.
I think she briefly does kind of like looking out the side of her eye, and maybe she catches like the after strike of that, of Maekar staggering backwards. But for most of this, she's just watching Glendon's face to tell her what's going on, because she can't turn to watch, and she almost can't bring herself to. And she is just, under her breath, I think she is just muttering something to the old gods so quietly that even Glendon Tarly probably can't even make out what she's saying. But she's a nervous wreck. She's probably also kind of holding on to him somewhere, like still has his arm because walking hurts. And it's just like she's just watching him as this indication of how badly or well this is going. But she's just looking at him, just being like, when is he going to be off the field? That's all she wants.
And Ash, what's Mariah's reaction as Sonny Boy is getting dashed about the face?
Well, I missed some of it because I was distracted by Morello.
So Samuel's just performed like the dirtiest fucking greatsword maneuver in the world. Basically, just tried to blind Maekar by like trying to jam his blunted greatsword into the helm's eye slit. She
probably looks rather pissed off. Yeah, she's obviously going to be displeased with Samuel, and if he hurts my boy, he's going to die. So
would she say anything?
Hurt my boy.
Would she keep him quiet?
She won't say anything because obviously the melee is still going on. But she'll probably just hold her like glass a little bit tighter, and her eyes will narrow a little bit more, and she'll kind of watch him like a hawk to see if he does any more dirty plays.
Well, we are about to find out. So Maekar has another opportunity to do you know what, actually, let's roll initiative again. Let's do it every round. Oh, yeah. Let's do it every round.
Okay.
Why be stuck with?
Do we have to apply wounds as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Does Maekar have two? I wasn't sure. Did Maekar take 2 wounds as well? Cool. I'm gonna use another bonus die.
Okay.
Don is gunning for Maekar. This isn't even Samuel anymore. This is Don.
No, this is Don.
No, this is Samuel.
Both.
Right. I'm gonna chuck a test die back at Maekar myself. Right. Bear with me, folks at home. Saluin hasn't got any of those, so that's fine. Agility, quickness, no bonus dice, no penalty dice, but then penalty. Why didn't you give me a penalty? So that's a 15 from Saluin. And then Maekar, like you say, has those 2 wounds. This is going to be a quickness, no bonus dice. Oh, hang on, no, let me actually add those wounds into his sheet, because then it calculates. I'm going to add that dice in for just this second. So a 12, take away the 5 is a 7. I'll pop that back down. And then little old Ellery. He's going to roll an 8. So that's going to be a 3. Ellery's like the person in the sitcoms where it's like, oh, Ellery. That's the vibe
Is it
I got.
okay to do a awareness notice to kind of see if anyone has like tried to do a subtle attack or like hidden weapons, anything that could cause harm, like like significant harm, like death in the melee?
Yeah, kind of. You don't need to roll for it necessarily, I don't think. So Samuel's performed that dirty maneuver. He could have blinded Maekar. You don't know how deep that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
There's blood on the sword, and there's blood that's like splattered out from his helm. But because Maekar is so contained in his full plate, that you just can't tell at the moment. He staggered back a bit, and he seems as if he's taken a hit or two, but he's still standing. Sir Lewin looks a little winded, but he's been on the defensive as well as has made an attack. Ellery looks pretty fit and healthy. Miria looks in good fighting spirits. She hasn't really been kind of hit properly, but she looks a little bit less energetic maybe as she started off right at the beginning. But yeah, that's kind of what our combatants look like. Definitely top of this round. Susie, what did you get there?
My final number was a 13 because I needed to take 3 for her armor penalty.
Cool, no problem. And Dom?
10.
Okay. So Lewin is still quick on his feet, and he actually is going to make a... Oh no, the greatsword's slow. Ugh. Okay. I can't make a split attack, which would have been awesome, and I can split my dice between the two of you.
I mean, you are the DM.
Nah.
Just saying.
Nah. Although I do just want to very quickly check what I gave. I think I just gave him, like, good stuff that I wouldn't have to keep track of during. Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. Oh, although I forgot to do that this time. Okay. Dull. Okay. All right. So, and he is, so Lewin is going to he again is going to fight tactically. He wants to back away from you, and he's actually going to move around. So he, you take the opportunity to try and grab a couple more spear lunges towards him, Miria, but as he sidesteps and just parries out of the way, he's actually kind of like spinning around Ellery as he tries to make his way around, and just he gets to the other side of Ellery, and now Ellery is between you and Sir Lewin, and Sir Lewin then is going to make a cautious attack against Ellery. So this is going to be a penalty dice. A 20 against Ellery, which is 3 degrees of success. His base damage is a 10, so that is going to be 30 damage. So Ellery takes a wound as Sir Lewin brings has some sweeping arcs of the greatsword, and it's the reach and it's the momentum of those swings that just get through Ellery's defense. His technique's good, but the strength of the parry isn't good enough, and he actually gets the shield knocked away, and Sir Lewin basically kind of pushes him, and you can see the kind of waist line part of his armor again get a bit of a crunch, and there's a kick from Sir Lewin, kind of towards the groin, basically, where the thigh meets the torso. So it's more of a bit like a kind of a bit of nerve damage rather than some bludgeoning damage rather than actual sword blow that makes Ellery stagger back a little bit. But then we move on to you, Miria, second in the initiative.
So Miria is going to come around and make her way over to the other side of Dane. But I want her to use a maneuver, and I think she's going to use this opportunity with Ellery getting pushed back to, like Brad Pitt and Troy. She's going to try some aerial shit. She Ellery maybe goes down on a knee, so she takes a jump off of Ellery's thigh. Like she uses him as a springboard to come up and do a spear drop down on Dane, just to throw him off his balance, right? Because he's not expecting a fucking aerial attack. So this is just a maneuver to begin with.
Yeah, sure.
So I need to make a fighting test against his passive fighting result.
Should we call this the Scorpion?
The Scorpion
Never.
Bolt.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've started something.
This is Maria's fucking pro gladiatorial career.
This WWE now? Is that what this is?
14.
Boot it up. Let's go. 14
It's probably not going to do
is going to be 2 degrees of success.
What, against his passive fighting? Because I'm doing the maneuver.
Sorry. Against his passive fighting is not going to land, I'm afraid.
No, I didn't think so.
So he bit of a almost kung fu kind of mage maneuver. He just leans back. And you kind of go across him. I'll put you just a little bit.
What if he does the really cool thing where he doesn't really move much, but goes like that, and the spear just goes shoo past his head?
Yeah, and you go past his head.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, he's that. Yeah, he's that. Agile with his body, and his technique is so good that he just knows that the limited amount of movement he needs to make, and he just sidesteps just that tiny amount, and you go flying across his side and land just next to him. You still have
she lands on the other side, 3-point landing, because she's a goddamn hero, and she's gonna bring the spear up around and try and in his back as he is turned like that.
Sure.
In a very Oliver move with the halberd spin, she does that and comes up for a. I'm gonna use a one of my friendies up here, one of the keep die.
Cool.
So 7, 27. Oh!
The dice gods heard about your awesome maneuver. It's going to be 4 degrees of success, friend. 4 degrees.
That's 2 crits in there as well. That's 2 6s.
What does that mean for us? If
that is
a
sundering hit, which means I reduces AR by 1 until it's repaired.
Cool. Okay.
So that was 4 degrees.
Okay.
So her agility is 3, which is 12.
Okay. Because these guys have got, you say you were kind of well equipped and everything in terms of arms and armor, but these guys obviously they represent, years worth of accumulated gear and awesomeness. Maekar looks like a freaking tank, and Saluin, even though he is in full plate, it's all the kind of medieval equivalent of skin tight, and all of the seams and all of the makeup of the actual structure of the armor is perfect, and that's how he's able to move so agilely. And so you think maybe that's a weakness, that it's quite light, that you can get through it very easily. Your blunted spear hits dead on, and he stands there and he looks at you for just a second. Before we move over to Samuel, right? What did you get again, Don?
A 10.
Yes, it is you. I didn't write the number, but I knew you were next somehow. I knew you were before Maekar, so you're next.
So once Samuel sees blood on his blunted spear, he steps back. He no longer attempts this like repeated slamming, and he grips his wrist with his arm. That's the uninjured arm. He grips that gauntlet with his other hand. He begins to spin his blade, twirling it 3 times, and then he feints and he tries to catch Maekar on the defensive, right? And he tries to get Maekar to use his maul to overextend himself. And if he sees an opportunity, then he's going to spin his entire body and whip the blade around, aiming it at the side of Maekar's helm. And I'm going to do another reckless attack, but I'm not going to use a brutal attack. I'm just going to use a normal attack with my greatsword.
Oh yeah, greater action. Okay, cool. Yeah, reckless attack. That sounds awesome.
So -1. Okay. A 22.
A 22 is going to just be 4 degrees of success.
So that is going to be 44 damage.
Alrighty. Okay. I think what happens is you start whipping your sword round and stood back just a couple of steps behind you, so not behind you, but like in front of you, catching a bit of distance. Maekar stands more ready and is just watching what you're doing. As you feint, he takes 1 step forward and he's about to swing through. And you move in the opposite direction and swing back and pelt him with that blow on the side of the helmet. And it knocks him over to the ground on the floor, and he steadies himself with one hand with that maul to one side. And as we're describing, as I'm doing this in slow motion as it happens, he takes a second, and you can as his helm creaks up at you. You can actually, as you step back with the greatsword, can see from the sunlight into his visor, and it's just a shock of red. But you can see the eyes just about looking back at you. His purple Targaryen eyes glistening in the sun. And you hear from under the helm, "If you wanted it so badly, you just had to ask." And he drops his maul and he raises his hand up into the air to yield.
There's just a very low, it wouldn't be heard from the crowd, rasp from beneath Samwell's great helm. House Tarly is loyal to the crown, my prince. And he steps over his body.
Okay. Yeah, I'll move you just the other side. So you're kind of in towards the middle of the fight now. What you see ahead of you, as we head over to final, as we've got in the round here, Ellery, is Selwyn fending off the betrothed couple, the betrothed knights, as I imagine they have like become known. It's like a weird knightly couple. as he begins to, you can see from, he's got more of an open visor, and then the visor that actually clamps shut kind of over the bottom half of his face has the holes punched through, so you get a better understanding of his facial expression. You can see him getting more frustrated and angry as his technique, his body language becomes more aggressive, and he is going to make a reckless attack against Sir Lewin. So we're going to give him an extra dice for this, but he's going to be at -5 defense till the beginning of his next turn. And that is just going to be a 15 against Sir Lewin's combat defense, which gives him 2 degrees, but the bastard sword damage isn't huge. So it's going to be 10. And again, he actually deals a couple of blows to Sir Lewin's armor, but they're glancing blows at best as Sir Lewin tries to dance out of the way and deflects a couple of blows with his greatsword. We are back up to a new round again, folks. So I would like to roll initiative again. Just keep things moving, keep things flowing a little bit in terms of the order of this. I'd like to keep it a little bit more random.
Ooh, that's an 8 for me.
Okay. Just shout them out. I've got a different list going. And that's a -5, which means that Ellery is actually doing a same, I think, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll let Murray go first, then Ellery in terms of those two.
Oh, what a gentleman.
Players
A
first.
10.
A 10 again from Samuel. Nice. And then Sir Lewin with his Speedy Gonzalez 22. It's a quick old boy.
He's disgusting.
Yeah, well, you know. I rolled him like Donwood. Whatever. They're good for one thing, and that's hitting people and dodging stuff. Right. No, that was a dodge. Why did I do that? Ugh. Oh well. Anyway, right. So Sir Lewin goes first, and he is going to get out of the way again of I'll tell you what he's going to do. He's actually going to try and maneuver. He's actually going to try and maneuver you. That's more interesting, isn't it? So we've got the maneuver fighting versus passive fighting. This doesn't say whether it's with long blades or anything.
I'm in danger.
So I'll just do a straight fighting test. Oh, no. 18 versus your passive fighting. Okay. So that means that you suffer -1 dice to all tests until the start of your next turn. As you I'm going to move you as well. He's going to move you a couple of yards back as he goes on the offensive, kind of pushes you backwards away from Ellery, so that Ellery's got less of an opportunity there tactically. But then he'll just make a standard attack. He's still got that action left. Let's do this like this here. 26.
Yeah. My defense is 14. So that's
It's not
3.
double then, is it? Which is alright. Because that means there's no crit there. But that is how many degrees?
3.
It's 30 damage.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a wound.
Okay. I think at this point, his fighting style, the fight that you're having, changes pace, and he starts harassing you, making you step back at every lunge, every swing. And there's a couple there that glance across your armor, that actually slice across it, and you feel those blows. And then there's more of kind of he closes the distance because you're fighting with a spear and shield. He manages to get onto your spear side, and he actually moves up so close that your bodies are almost literally pushing at each other, as you can just feel the crunch of a joint in the scale armor that you've got, and a couple of scales ping off, and there's a slice that digs into your side. And you can feel the coldness of his blade digging into you. Alright, that was his attack. It's Samuel next, though.
So what's our movement rules here? Use a lesser action if you need to move, is that right?
Yes, so move itself is a lesser action, and you can move up to your movement speed in yards, but I'm not too precious about that speed. You'll be able to move to any 3 of these combatants.
Samuel is going to... And what's a charge? I'm looking on my cheat sheet, but I don't see charge. Is that an actual move?
It is, yes. I actually don't think I've popped it on there. It's basically it's a move and standard attack combined, but you get +1, -1 dice, -1 keep dice on your test, but you get +2 damage, +2 base damage.
Oh, nah, that's not what I'm going to do. Samuel is going to continue slowly walking, catching his breath, and he can feel the pain like in his shoulder, like it's a crazy amount of pain that he's trying to ignore. And like through between the fighters, he can see the Tarly men, I imagine, but he's trying not to look at them. He's trying not to think about why they're there, what they want.
Yeah.
And he will march slowly down to Mara's side, and then he'll turn and bring his blade up over his head, and I guess I can't counterattack. I guess he'll just standard attack. So like he waits for his moment, right? Like as Miri has been knocked down or has been hurt pretty bad, like he's approaching, and he waits for the moment as the Sword in the Morning is withdrawing, and then he takes an opportunity to drive his blade forward, trying to strike him in his breastplate.
Nice.
So yep, that's not right.
Nope.
$26 with 2 crits.
Okay, that is 4 degrees of success and is most certainly double his combat defense. So it's a sundering blow, isn't it? 2 crits. So we've got reduce the AR by 1 again.
36 damage.
36 damage. Okay. So what wound do you inflict? Like, and where is the kind of armor crumpled up? If you're heading like straight
he's
in.
going for his thorax, right? Like his idea here, like he's not trying to injure him too terribly, but he thinks like if I can hit him hard enough right in his breastplate, if I can actually dent his armor into his sternum, maybe he won't be able to breathe.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have to resign.
Yeah, I think you crack his beautifully crafted gorget. And like even though the sword is blunted, it makes its way kind of in and through and cracks it. And he staggers back. And then you hear like a spit, and then like a globule of like blood like drop out the kind of bottom of his visor. As weirdly as he's still in a kind of fighting posture that he maintains. So you hear that little bit of kind of not quite holding his posture, but you don't see it, and just see the little globule of blood drop out the bottom of the visor. But he is certainly wounded at the neck. it is then Miria's turn as Samuel is very quick off the mark, just out of your right periphery. You see him coming in and then driving that sword towards Selûne. Excuse me.
Yeah. So she is gonna, much like Selûne did when she and Ellery had him cornered, she's gonna like pivot around him, do like a little fancy little spinnies, and get behind him because Samuel is scary with that fucking sword and she doesn't want to be next to him because if he follows through, then she's just dead. And she's gonna like spin around him, which is her move, action, lesser action, and then she's just gonna make a standard attack, I think, just get him in the back.
Cool. And all four of these combatants now on the southern kind of side of the little arena, meaning that the noble crowd get a very good view of what's going on.
20.
Oh. Against Selûne is 3 degrees.
Which is unfortunately only 9. But is that double his combat defense? Because I got a 6 in there.
It is.
I ignore 2 of his AR.
Oh, hello. So where exactly was the blow? It's going to kind of knock him back and wind him quite significantly.
I think she's actually going for his legs because the rest of him is like very, he's quite well armored up here, and legs tend to be not as well armored to allow for mobility, and he's a very mobile fighter. So she's like, I'm gonna get this fucker in the knee. So she's like, just goes behind him and tries to just take out one of his legs to just throw him, get him a little bit shakier.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you most certainly trip him at one leg. Kind of actually just take an ankle a little bit. Just
an ankle pick, 100% an ankle pick. I'm going for that.
Yeah. And he has to step, and he's just he's on some real uneven footing just at the very end of your maneuver, and then. I think Ellery moves into your side and then tries to essentially land a kind of defeating blow on Selûne. So he is gonna charge, and use his long blades. So we've got that 1 penalty dice, and he's going to do an 11 against his combat defense. So it is only going to be 1 degree of success. And bless Ellery. Oh, Ellery. Selûne, again, doesn't quite deflect it in time, and it glances off his breastplate. But you can see that he's taken the hit, and he staggers back just a little bit more. Okay, quick initiatives, and then we will go into the next round. As Maekar goes down and his hand goes up to yield, what is Queen Mariah's reaction? And what is Marzia's reaction to one of her more favoured noblemen?
Probably as... Oh, God. Morello. Okay, goodbye. Probably as he was hit with such a strong blow, she would stand, just not fully, but kind of just push herself up off her chair, kind of gripping the armrests, just so, even though just that slight movement won't allow her to see better, but it's just that kind of instinct and that reaction to it. But as soon as she sees him put his hand up, she'll slump back down. It's kind of a mixture of relief and disappointment. But yeah, she'll turn her gaze over to Mariah, but kind of still have that kind of steely, cold glare towards Samuel.
Marzia, I think, is nearly a mirror for the queen, but as the queen pushes up just a little way, Marzia is fully on feet, right to the edge of the box, stepping over her cat, not really caring when Salistrai grumbles. And she's staring down, and even as the hand goes up, her knuckles are clenched against the wood and the edge of the box. And she excuses herself. She doesn't really wait for anyone to give her permission. And she'll tell Bryn to stay. And she's gonna make her way out of the box towards the healer's tent.
Okay.
Because she knows she's the best person here to fix the man.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So Bryn kind of looks kind of worried and a little shocked at you rushing down the steps, but he stays put. He actually looks back at Enzo. Well, I think he looks over to like Mariah, realizes kind of who it is. He's like, "Oh no, wait, hang on," and then looks for Enzo behind him. Yeah, exactly.
I want to add a tiny detail as well that I think Bryn has the horse that Sam gave him in his hand. He's kind of brought that with him because knights. He's got a knight, so he's brought that with him.
Yeah.
The wonky little horse.
But yeah, he looks back at Enzo.
Enzo will give him a smile, a little wink, and then he'll get up and kind of like put a reassuring hand on his shoulder and then kind of point to the melee to kind of switch his attention back to the melee to go straight back into it.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, he's got that real, shocked little kid look about him, but then as you put your hand on his shoulder and you kind of, typical distraction technique, pointing back towards the melee and the kind of try and emphasize the kind of fun of it. He looks back and he kind of calms down a bit and rests a little and looks back at the melee. So in all of that, I haven't rolled any agility tests. But what do we get, friends?
8.
A 2.
A 2? Oh. Lewin -5 there got a 7. And Ellery, it's probably got a 6. Huzzah. Miria is the quickest off the mark.
Holy shit. What do I do?
Stab him.
Stab him. I'm right. Okay, so I'm right up against him. She's gonna aim this time to get a plus 1B. And then she's gonna like, that moment where she can hear her breathing, she can see them fighting around her, and she just takes that moment to pick her spot and go in and get him.
You've also got a little 1B and 1D friend in your frame.
I do. Yeah, go on. Let's use the 1D too. So she's got a B and a D. Just gonna put that up to 8. Dropping 3. I think, yeah. 27 with 2 6s.
I mean, yeah, at this point, he is defeated. That means that you can do what you like with him.
I am going
Susie.
to accept his. I'm not going to kill the sword in the morning. If it was Auntie Dane, yeah, she'd be fucking done. But this guy hasn't done shit to me. Yeah, Miria, I think she's just very efficient. She takes him from his feet and puts the spear tip to his throat and basically is like, yield right now. But, the second he sort of like defensively, she's going to withdraw and offer him a hand to get up.
Sure thing. Okay.
Because for the moment, she's not remembering that there's other people with swords here because, she's in the zone, right? She's focused on Dane.
Yeah. Okay. So he is back on the ground, looking up at you, and you are pointing your spear point towards his neck, his broken gorget, and it's probably because of that particularly that you see him I was this in my left hand with his sword hand. He like on the ground kind of just like pushes it away, like kind of flings it a little, just a few feet, and yeah, being weaponless, he yields. As you offer your hand to help him up, You are barreled over by Sir Ellery.
The only way he's going to hit someone, isn't it?
Yeah. I am going to give you a cheeky little -2 to your combat defense for having some guy holding the hand of some guy at the same time.
She's off balance. She's not paying attention. I'm going to have to kick his ass.
It was a 10.
No.
Really? Nice. Okay. So how do you spin out of this? What's the reaction?
I think, okay, so Miria is perhaps, she's bending down, right? She's maybe squatting a little bit to help Lewin up.
Yeah.
And she feels or hears Ellery coming up behind her. And instead of trying to stand and move, she just sort of like tucks and gets smaller. So Ellery just goes over the top of her.
Yeah, fair. He's still standing, but he has to, like, there's a whoa from like a couple of kind of, marshals and heralds that are stood on that grandstand side as he kind of goes into the rope, and then he has to kind of quickly turn.
I think Miria gets knocked, so she's like face to face with the sword in the morning for a minute. Like she gets knocked forward right into his face. They have a little meet cute, and then she pulls back. Yeah, definitely. All right, that's enough from Ellery, from my opinion. So Samwell to go last this round. So Lewin's out, so I'll hide him.
He's pulled back after his thrust, and he's watching the flurry of action. And Samwell is just walking around, like kind of taking a circle around the body of the Sword in the Morning. He sees Ellery go over the top of Miria and just sort of shakes his head. There's a raspy laugh that kind of echoes out from the back of his helm. And he just sort of strides over to Ellery's side and wordlessly just tries to conk him in the side of the head with the golden bear pommel of his blade.
Yeah, man. Do it. Donk indeed. Bonk.
Well, that's not that great. That's only a 17.
Yeah. It's just shy of 3. It's going to be 2 degrees of success.
Okay, that'll be 18 damage.
Oof. Okay. For the lols, I want him to just fall over, and he can, mechanically he can. I can just not take a wound, and he's like that. Is just enough with his armor. So yeah, you like bonk him on the side of the head as he's trying to kind of spin round, and then he just kind of takes a couple of side steps, trips up over his own feet, and then falls over. And I have to, so it's not purely comedic. I have to think that you then step over, kind of on top, above him, like at his feet, and you're maybe just looking down at him. I don't know how you want to intimidate him, but he will yield.
Yeah, he'll stand over him and he'll thrust what is this, like sand? This arena, like, is it just dirt?
Yeah, it's dirt, I imagine.
Dirt.
Yeah.
He just kind of thrusts just the tip of his greatsword so that it's in the dirt at his body, and he's just staring down at him until he yields. And once he yields, Samuel will just slowly turn his body to open it up towards Miria.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I think he barrels back that way. And you're there. Okay. So as Sir Lewin goes off to a corner, Sir Ellery is just like on the floor, out for it. Miria is stood behind you as you turn towards her. She's not more than, a couple of yards away. Mara, this is where you manage to see a little bit more of what's happened. I think Sir Glendon, as Maekar steps out, says to you, "The prince, he's He's on the sidelines. He looks out.
I think this is where Mara lets out another breath that she didn't know she was holding. And like this is she's just terrified because she knows that all the people here are good. These are knights that she has heard of, you know. And I think that once it's clear, like if he tells that the sword of the morning has gone out, she gets more and more relieved as the kind of really big heavy hitters are pushed to the sidelines. And I think it's at this point she starts to watch out of the corner of her eye again. She can stand to look to see what's happening now. And I think in realizing that it is now Miria and Samwell, she really doesn't know how to feel about this, because she wants Samwell to win, because she fears about what happens if he doesn't. She has no idea if Miria knew about Marzia's plans, or whether or not something's gonna happen here. But also she does love her sister and wants to believe that perhaps she doesn't know and doesn't want to see her hurt either, and she knows how well Samwell fights. So I think at this point she's kind of watching, but she's probably gripping Glendon's Tarly's arm just as tightly as she was before.
Okay. You can definitely make out that Samwell and Miria are squaring off against each other. What you're not quite sure about from all of the bodies and heads in front of you that you're trying to just see through the cracks of between their heads and shoulders is whether there are other combatants in the grounds with them.
I think she just relies on Glendon to tell her who's going where, and if he doesn't seem worried, she relaxes, but as soon as his face kind of screws up into concern, she's like full panic mode again.
As Marzia, you make your way towards the medical tent, which is towards the back of the Champions Pavilion. You see a group of knights or guards in Tarly colours. And Mara, you hear from Sir Glendon, "Get behind us." And as soon as he says, "Get behind us," he starts walking forward to the front of the Tarly group. And
can I see what he spotted?
Yes. So, I don't need to make you roll for it. You have a narrative choice here. You can stop and look, or you can move and get out of the way.
I think Mara tries to place herself behind him as he steps forward and reaches for the back of his surcoat.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know what he's going towards, but she doesn't like it. She doesn't want him to leave her side either, because she doesn't want to be left alone. So I think that she does what she's told, in like, because he's much taller and broader than she is. I imagine he's built kind of similarly to Samwell.
Mm.
So behind him, no one's going to see her face on, but I think she grabs the back of his surcoat to stop him and just says, "Don't stay here." Like it's not so much a command, but it's like it's a pleading of like, don't go anywhere. A very desperate one.
Marzia, as you start to round the tent a bit more, you see amongst his guards Sir Glendon Tarly. He's wearing a bit of a beard since you last met him, but he is the build and still has the same facial features and structure.
I imagine that following Marzia would be two hollowed hearts. Just if she moves, they move, because we've stepped up their presence around the family in the last couple of days. And I imagine she just doesn't really care that Glendon's there. She has a prince down, and that's her focus. That's all she cares about. And she'll just like walk in a straight line, and if he doesn't get out her way, she will walk straight through him. That's the kind of energy she has. Like, you are between me and something I care about. Get out my way.
I didn't imagine that they were in the way, but they would certainly be something that you would notice. Stood behind him, I think you could see, is a figure in a cloak, stood directly behind him. And it is in that kind of, that kind of green woolen cloak with the kind of golden arrows embroidered on it.
She
But
may make a
the
side comment to Sir Lord Glendon. You could take a seat in the stands if you want to watch. There's a much better view. Kind of that kind of a, why are you here, stupid man? Get out my way. And just...
Yeah, as you kind of walk off in more of a diagonal direction from them, and he is kind of turning towards you, like turning with you almost as you walk, and he says, "Thank you, my lady. We arrived late. I didn't want to annoy anybody."
Please enjoy.
And you can just like glance over the way, Maekar being kind of trundled off by, he's got like an entourage towards the healer's tent, and you make your way over there.
I think Marcia has a strange feeling maybe as she passes the group, because he clearly wanted her attention. Like, when someone angles towards you and then kind of half follows you and then backs off, it's like he wanted something. So I think she glances towards the box and towards Enzo, but then her attention is brought straight back to Maekar. And she'll look towards the melee as well, because Miria is still in the middle of that and she doesn't know what's going on.
Absolutely. Back at the melee, we're gonna be all cool, and I'm gonna force Giamir a bit. Squaring off now in the center of the little arena, Miria and Samwell circling each other very slowly, as the crowd have been kind of roused into like a roar and some chanting of, basically like who is going to be the champion. We're now down to 2 contestants. It's kind of the final of the final. Who is going to be left standing? How do each of you look now that you've fought off a few combatants and taking descriptively maybe taking account of your wounds and your health as well in terms of your kind of stamina? How does Miria look?
So I think for Miria, she had that cut on her side from the sword, and she's clearly favoring this side more with her shield. She's much more protective on the side. This left shoulder is lower; it's dropped to cover that wound, and her spear tip isn't quite as pointed up as it was. She's sagging a bit. She's been in this fight a while. She's getting tired, and you can quite clearly see like the scale emphasizes her breathing, and you can see it. She's breathing heavily, and I think the chain from her helmet has like dropped on one side because of the tumbles she's got. So you can kind of like half see her face through it. She's covered in dirt and sand and sweat, and she's clearly exhausted. But she's trying to pace herself. She's taking deep breaths and trying to square off those shoulders. But you can see as she tries to roll her arms back, she like winces, and Samuel can probably see it through that gap in her thing, but she's trying to hold and trying not to be the last one down. She's got that very determined, like she's fixed in with that, like.
Yeah. And what about Samwell?
Samwell is doing his best to look like he's not in a lot of pain. It's impossible to miss that his right shoulder, his right pauldron is like cracked. The gold etched vines on it just shattered and broken. He can feel like metal kind of still puncturing down into his shoulder where the armor's broken. But he kind of circles around and tries to steady his breathing. He keeps his sword held the pommel so that the blades pointed down towards the earth, both of his hands gripping the pommel, and he's trying to just look as stoic and as large and intimidating as possible. And he's waiting for a moment where there's enough of a quiet down in the roaring and the chanting of the crowd that he can call over to Miria without anybody else hearing. He just sort of once they're kind of squared off in his position, he just calls out, "My lady, where is your sister? She never returned last night to camp." "I looked for her, but I could not find her."
Hang on, I need to just 1 sec. Maria, she looks away for a minute. She looks out around the crowd and she looks at Samuel, and with a very cold expression, she says, "She's dead."
Can I make a roll to see if I believe her, to see if Samuel believes her?
Yeah.
Because that is quite the...
I mean, it's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Susie, do you intend to now attack after that, or are you waiting to see Samuel's reaction?
I 100%. I told Charlie at the start I was going to tell Samuel that she's dead to throw him off so I could hit him real good. So
Okay.
I would just...
Don, you can retarget, and Miriam will take the first turn in the top of this round, so she'll get the initiative this round, or you can roll for initiative.
No, he's reading the target. He's stunned when she says that. I don't think there's any way that Samuel would have thought, even if that's like his worst fear, that would have thought that she would have said that.
Okay.
I'll retarget.
Sure thing.
I'm sorry, John.
That's okay. I don't think that he's going to be able to... What's the DC here?
Passive deception, Susan.
That's right.
It is 16 for Maria.
Okay. Well, then let me use my last bonus die.
Okay.
Right, I do have one more, I think.
Yeah, that's it now.
Okay. Just so I have like a slight chance of maybe knowing the truth. 16.
As far as Maria knows, she's dead.
She says it with a kind of cold conviction and a determination that doesn't make you think that she's bluffing.
All right. He just appears to stand in that same position, pommel with the blade facing down. He does start to lift his pommel up, straight up, so the blade's lifting too as you charge, but he just has a stunned look in his eyes.
Okay. Miria takes the first turn this round.
Okay. Maria is gonna she's gonna do a reckless attack because she's a fucking idiot.
Cool.
So she's gonna come up and just she's going for that shoulder that she can see is clearly fucked. So she's just trying to smash him.
She doing the scorpion bolt again.
Yes, she is.
Jumping up, bam. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I need to figure this out. So I'm gonna use a bonus die too.
So you got that last one, so that's spent now.
So she's gonna be rolling 8. She'll be dropping 4 because she has a wound, I think. Hang on.
I don't remember if you have a wound, I think.
Yeah, I do. I
You
have a
took
wound.
Yeah.
And I got a bonus. Yeah, so she's dropping 4. Modifier 1. 18.
Against your combat defense.
That'll be 3 degrees of success.
That's 9.
So 9 damage minus your AR.
That doesn't damage.
No. I mean, she's not gonna be able to hit him because he's wearing fucking plate.
So I think it's a palpable hit on his breastplate, and it just makes him step back a couple of times. If it was a proper spear, you probably would have punctured it, and you would have you'd have killed a man. But
First one.
Yeah, but this makes Samuel stagger back a couple of paces. So let's move him back in there, and you're stood just a couple of yards away now, having landed. But Don, you get to make a turn. You get to take a turn.
Oh God, Susie White.
Kill me, Don.
This is going to go one of two ways, in my opinion. Either you're going to fucking kill her, or Samuel is going to just like for the drama, Don, for the juicy fruits, he's going to yield now and just be like, fuck it. I don't know. That's just me. Anyway,
There's no chance he yields.
I think it's going to go one of two ways, mate. Are you giving him the Neo? Come on.
He staggers back a few steps, still bringing up the hilt of the blade face down, and you can see through the green painted vines of his faceplate, the green and brown painted vines of his faceplate, like his shock goes wide, and you can see that there's tears in the corners of his eyes, but there's rage there too. And as he stops himself and plants his back foot, he reverses his top hand grip on the pommel and just flips the blade straight up, cutting straight up into the air, because he knows the kind of helm you're wearing doesn't really protect your chin. And that's where he's aiming.
Okay.
And I'm going to swing as hard as I can. I'm sorry.
No, do it.
Reckless attack.
Okay.
With a brutal. A 24.
Yeah. That is did we say it was 4 last time? 3? She's got 14. It's 19.
So
3.
24 is 4 degrees of
3.
Oh no, it's only a 23. Actually,
okay.
because it's -1. So that's only 2 degrees.
Oh, only 2. Okay, that's good.
So it's 18 damage plus 1 wound.
Shit. Hang on. What is my... You can take multiple injuries, right?
Yes.
Okay. My endurance is 3. So I could tank 9 of that. 6 is also armor. So that's 15. How much damage total?
18.
18.
Okay. It's not like if you take 3 injuries, you don't die, right? That's just wounds.
Wounds is death, yeah. So
okay.
Injuries is just bad bumps and scrapes.
She's still alive. Just.
I think she you go for that hit, it like cracks her jaw, breaks a few teeth, and she spins and like...
She's fucking airborne.
Yeah.
Like...
Slams down onto the ground, but... I mean, Susie, you can be as quick as you like in trying to get back up and, and moving again.
Well, if it hits her like that again, she's dead. So, and I think Miria's like, my fucking face. I think she's bleeding profusely from the mouth.
So I miss this a little bit with my yield for Makar, but just so we're kind of playing a bit more rules as writ for you guys, yield is an action you have to take in your turn. If someone defeats you, they can decide what happens to you. That includes death. So if you want to yield either of you, it is an action you take.
Maria is kind of like, she's face down in the dirt, like there's blood everywhere. She sort of turns her head to the side. She's rocked, like the whole world, like she's seeing 6 of everything. And I think her helmet went flying too. And she's just gonna like slowly like push herself up like chest height and just like a hand in the air as a yield. And she's kind of like just crawling away to the edge because she's fucked.
What does Samuel do?
He drops the sword and just stands there. He doesn't move. He just stares up, like his eyes are going out to the crowd, just slowly drifting over the crowd. He doesn't pay any attention to Miria as she starts crawling away. He's just entirely stunned and he's breathing hard.
As we cut back to Sir Glendon and Mara standing at his shoulder, there is a massive cheer, and for a second, Sir Glendon doesn't know what's happened. And I imagine that Samuel is deaf to this cheer, but his father is looking and he's even kind of like standing up on his tiptoes a little bit to try and see over the crowd rather futilely. But he then does get an eye on Samuel, and he says, "He won. He won." But that second he won is like a confused, like, what's he doing? As Samuel just kind of stands there and kind of looks around to the crowd to see what.
How far are we from like, I guess if we're kind of standing around near the Champions Glade where lots of the small folk have kind of.
It's a good dash. It's like 100 meters or so, like, you know.
Right. Okay.
Fuck, that is 50 yards. I don't know.
I think Mara for a
100
second,
yards.
she hears he won, and it doesn't register in her mind because she's so racked with this fear of what that cheer means. And then he says it again, and it sinks in, and she doesn't even notice the confusion at first until she really looks at his face.
Mm.
And I think it's at that point she turns for the first time to kind of look out at what she can see on the tourney field, and she sees him just standing there.
Mm.
And I think for Mara that would be odd, because she knows how badly he wanted to win this, how much he wanted to do well at this tourney. And I think she looks back at Glendon and just says something's wrong. Something's wrong. Have they told him? Did they speak to him?
I don't know how. Or who. What do you want to do?
And I think it's in this moment of sheer panic where she doesn't know why he's not happy and reacting to this win. And she takes a look around, and there's all these Tarly guards, and she knows that men have gone off to try and speak to him. And in her mind, something isn't right. Either he knows something or he doesn't know something, and he should. And I think without even thinking, she doesn't even look at Glendon. She's just eyes fixed on Samuel, just saying, somebody needs to get my husband. Just kind of under her breath to him. And she doesn't even think about the words that she says, but they come out. All she wants is someone to go and get Samuel and to bring him here. Because she knows that she's been missing all night. She knows he would have been worried sick. And at this point, it's just like, that's it. The fight's done. He's won. Let's get him. Let's go. But she doesn't even think about the fact she says the word husband instead of Samuel. It just comes out.
If they notice, they don't show it. And Sir Glendon points to a couple of his guards.
She probably says it only loud enough to Sir Glendon. She's not really interested in what the other Tarly dudes think. They do what they're told.
Yeah. And Sir Glendon says to a couple of his guards, go on. Go get him for me. And they rush off. The next thing you know, and the next thing you will see, apart from Marcia, who will come to in the healer's tent, is a couple of Tarly soldiers, essentially. Just, you know, what they look like. They look like they've fucking walked off a field, a battlefield. There's the cat being really loud. And they're just like, they step, you know, they, a bit like a kind of a wrestling rope, I imagine, a little bit. They're kind of ducking under the rope. They're just like, they don't give a fuck who's in front of them. They are just walking towards Samuel, and they're stepping through the rope. And then the next thing you know, Don, is that there's two of the household guards stood next to you. And they're basically kind of nicely, but in a very kind of soldierly way, each of them grabbing you by one of your arms and saying, "My lord, we must away." And they're just basically pulling you towards that group, towards Pavilion Tents.
He'll pull back at him for a second, and he'll like kind of snap out of his daze. He'll whip his head around, and he'll look up to the noble booths, and he's looking for Marcia, and he's looking for the princess.
So Marcia isn't there, but Queen Mariah is there for sure. Yeah, and little Bryn is standing on his chair, clapping really loudly. Enzo stood next to him, but Marcia is strangely absent.
He'll take off his helm, and there's still that like wide-eyed rage in his eyes, and his gaze flickers between the queen and between Bryn with a toy that he carved for him, and then back to the queen, and he forces a very slow, wide smile, but his eyes are still wide. There's still like tears streaming down the side of his face, and he smiles up and very slowly raises his good arm to salute to his breastplate, but he's watching the queen.
She'll probably at this point stand, walk forwards, and just slightly reluctantly kind of give you her congratulations. Just very kind of directly. Very short, very sweet, very blunt.
The Kingsguard that is with her steps down a few steps to kind of the middle of the stands, halfway down the steps, calls out to you. You may approach, Sir Knight.
He looks to the Tarley soldiers at his side and kind of like shakes off an elbow, and just under his breath, I'll be with you in a moment.
They've got a pretty desperate look in their eyes. Like it's no secret they really want you to go with them, but they're not talking to you about really. They're not they're expressing it. They're not stopping you.
Sam, can I just say, I think that at the point that Mara's asking for these men to go and get Samuel, I think she probably would have said to them to mention her name. Like, not to tell him anything else, not to say what's happened or explain. But I think she knows that because she would have been missing and he would have been worried that if he hears her name, it might trigger something for him to be a bit more sensible.
I will let you do that if you've got a destiny point to spend.
I don't think I do. I think I saved it to not die from a cat.
That's right.
Oof, well,
Okay.
Unfortunately, they don't say his name. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, your name. So yeah, they're not stopping you, but in that sense of subordinates really wanting you to do something, they're just kind of stood there waiting, like, come on.
He doesn't care. He lets the smile fade a little bit. His eyes, he kind of blinks away. He wipes. He probably gets like a little bit of blood that's on his gauntlet over across like the bridge of his nose, and he, unarmed because he already threw his sword down, will slowly approach to do what champions do when they win tournaments, and he's going through the motions, but he's approaching the queen.
Okay. You are given a crown of flowers. This crown is woven in with some forget-me-nots, because of course it is. Enzo made sure we kept on brand, I'm sure. And yeah, you know he by a herald, you are again kind of going through the motions, not really taking it in. You are just past this crown of flowers to crown a queen of love and beauty, and you. Yeah, you're at the bottom of the stands.
Where is Miria? Is she still around?
She's just coming back. Yeah. So where is Miria as Samuel has stood, not really knowing where to look? Two Tarly guards have just entered the little arena area, the fenced-off arena area, and have tried to pull him away, and he's shrugged them off, and he's been asked, he's been told by the Kingsguard he can approach, and he's started to walk up towards the stand.
So Maria would have made her way to the edge, and she would be making her way to the box because that's where she knew Marcia was, because she needs to tell Marcia that Samuel knows what happened. So she's trying to make her way back to the sort of the big fancy box. But I think she's definitely, because she's like, just her face is just a mess. She's like pulled up that scarf she had just so Bryn doesn't see her face absolutely covered in blood and doesn't scare him. So she's tried to
Samuel's a few yards ahead of you, and as you look up to the box, only Queen Mariah, Lord Bryn, and Enzo's faces look back at you.
and she's like, Enzo. She just needs, she's trying to get someone to come to her to find out where Marcia is.
Enzo will go.
Okay. Do you head down the main steps to pass Samuel, or do you kind of I imagine there's some back exits and
you know
steps
what?
down the
Yeah,
side.
I'll Enzo will kind of excuse himself in front of the Queen, just bow slightly and head down to the steps in front of Samuel, and he's got a big smile, and he'll kind of tap him on the shoulder. And, well done, Samuel. That was a good fight. And he'll nod his head and then head on over to where Miria called him.
Yeah, Miria's only a few yards behind.
And Miri does that thing where she kind of takes him and turns him aside so she can talk quietly. Where's Marcia?
I believe she went to the healing tent where I believe you should be.
It doesn't matter. Well, he knows what happened.
About what?
About Mara.
What about Mara?
She's dead.
What?
She's dead.
What? And he'll usher her further away from Samuel. What are you talking about? How is she dead?
No, Marcia didn't tell me the specifics. Just that she's dead.
Does someone know?
Yes.
Okay.
I do think he did this.
I just
and
thought
she's
he...
like, whoa.
I just holding her chin.
I don't know how knights fight. Oh, the one thing I should... Okay. I think we get through this.
You need to keep her in with the Queen. He'll be safe with her.
Do not worry. I'll look after him. You'll need an escort to the healing tent.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll look around and he'll see any guards, as many as he can find. And I mean, he doesn't really have authority, really. He's...
Roll me a status test.
I'm with you, though.
But
Roll me a status test. You can chuck any command dice you've got from Warfare in it if you want.
No. All right. There we go. 9.
Okay, you fire that there is a hollow heart. You can have a hollow heart.
Great.
Oh wait, no, sorry, 2. Sorry, 2 degrees of success. So yeah.
Oh, jolly good.
It was difficulty 0. I'm counting the numbers.
Okay. So I'll so yeah, they'll look at him and please escort Lady Mara, Miria.
No,
not Mara, Miria. So many M's. Give me a
good one.
Yeah, Lady Miria to the healing tent and ensure she gets there, please.
Yeah, they are subservient, and they take you off to the healing tent.
But Miri gives him the fucking "you better watch after my little brother" because the shit's gonna kick off. She gives him the face.
Okay, he nods and he heads straight back up into the sand, right next to Bryn. And he's kind of he's trying to be a bit taller, and his eyes are piercing, just going around. It's like a friggin' sentry, just scanning anyone that comes near with a knife, a sword, anything.
Samuel, as they're speaking, what do you do?
So he takes the crown that they give him, right? And he kneels down, breaking eye contact with the Queen, kneels down next to Bryn, and his smile changes a little bit. It's a little gentler. His eyes look sad, but a little gentler. And he gets close and he taps with a finger that little wooden horse, and he says, "One day you'll make a true knight, my lord." He gives a sad smile. And he stands up with a crown takes it in both hands, and he starts to head back down towards where Miria and Enzo are. And if he can catch Miria before she leaves, he'll do something.
As he goes to turn, she calls him by name and waits for him to look at her. And Mariah will just say, "I hope you will join me for dinner tonight."
He slowly turns back around. My grace, it would be my honor.
And then she'll just sit back down.
As you start walking back down the steps, Samuel, Enzo is at the bottom of them and is coming up at a pace. Miria is about 20 yards or so, 15 yards away from the stands, and she is just slowly being walked away by a couple of the Hollow Hearts towards the pavilion tents in the Champions Glade.
Walking on her own, by the way. She ain't doing any of this like
No, that's
bullshit.
fine.
She's
They are walking her to the pavilion tent, but she is clearly walking herself.
He'll start to follow, and he'll call out loud enough that everyone in the stands can hear. And he'll say, "I, Sir Samuel Tarly, would like to name the Queen of Love and Beauty, Lady Miria. May you be blessed in your union to Lord Ellery Peak." And he holds up the crown and waits for Miria to see her reaction.
the second he starts talking, because the second he says, "I would wish to name," she's like, fuck, here we go. And stops dead in the place. I think the whole hearts carry on for a moment before they realize she stopped. But she turns around, and as he names her the Queen of Love and Beauty, she kind of looks at him very confused, but nonetheless walks towards him.
I'm interested to know what Enzo is doing at this point.
Enzo, at this present moment, his left hand has snuck around his back, and he's gripping hold of a dagger. And he's just like watching. And this is gonna suck, but he's watching Samuel like a hawk. If he makes an aggressive move, he's throwing the dagger.
Okay. You're essentially, we're kind of readying that. Yeah, I'll let you absolutely let you do that. So Miria walks back up to the stands, unless you're walking out towards her.
He'll meet her partway.
Okay.
And he'll stop, and he'll very slowly and very gently place the crown on her head if she'll allow.
Mm-hmm. She ducks her head a little for it.
And while they're close, just into her ear, "Where is she?"
"I don't know. And I'm sorry. She was my sister."
"She deserved a better sister." He turns and walks off.
Marion laughs. And it's a horrible laugh because she's all fucked in the mouth.
There is a mix of applause and people noble people, particularly some of them may be getting a read that this is some weird thing they're not party to, and they're not quite sure how to take it. The small folk are just cheering you on. Where is Samuel going?
The only place he can go is to the Tarly Guards.
Okay. Enzo, what about you? So Miria, I assume, would head off back towards the healer's tent.
Mm-hmm.
Enzo is going to stick to Bryn like glue. He's going to be always in front of him. And Enzo doesn't, I mean, he kind of knows proper routine of what's going to happen, but not really. So he's kind of looking at Bryn to kind of lead the way. Do you know what to do next? You know, kind of talk.
Like he, I don't think he really does. He might have gotten a prompt. The Queen certainly would know what kind of to expect next.
So it is literally like the blind leading the blind at the moment, where it's just awkwardly looking at each other, just kind of waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, this is it, and you know this confusion can lead to a nice kind of bit of no one kind of getting up and walking around. It gives us a bit of space to play, actually. Samuel, you head back down to those guards, and they rush you towards the pavilion tents. And round one side of the pavilion tent, as you round it, it reveals your father stood amongst some of his guards. Behind him is a cloaked figure in your cloak with the green woolen one with the gold embroidery. And then as your father sees you, you just hear him mutter relief under his breath, but he looks around a little bit first, and then he sidesteps, and revealed behind him is a lady that looks like Mara, but her face has been hurt badly. And like the actual structure of one side of her face has changed.
So when Samuel sees Mara, she's wearing his cloak, but underneath she's still in the dress that she wore to the archery tournament the day before. And even with the cloak covering the shoulders, you can see where it's torn at the sleeve line, where the quite low neck that's kind of hidden by this leather bodice is torn and bloodied and muddy. The leather kind of over corset or over bodice that she's wearing has got these horrible deep gouges all the way through almost the lining material. And around her waist, there is a doubled over sword belt. And just at the edge of the cloak, you can see the top of, Samuel would notice it because it was his, but his rapier, the one that he laid at Oliver's grave. And she's just stood there staring straight at you, shaking, still probably holding on to the back of Glendon's surcoat more for stability because it's still difficult for her to stand. And she's just looking at him with this look of, there's a bit of pride in there because she knows that he's won, but like complete fear.
Samuel like looks over the entirety of Mara, so the hilt of the rapier, the torn garments, the cloak, his cloak, her face. And he lingers there, and he doesn't look any less stunned than he did a few moments ago. He still looks like he's in shock. And then he smiles a little bit.
And I think if he smiles, she smiles too. And you can see that as she does, where all the skin on her face has been torn and punctured, you can see the smile kind of turn into a wince as it hurts her to move the face muscles to do it. And she just kind of like reaches her hand out from under the cloak towards you.
He glances around quickly to make sure that they're not being watched. I mean, is there some level of privacy here? Are there Fox Hollow guards or anybody else around watching this?
No. I mean, the small focus starting to disperse just a little bit. But people are kind of hanging around the stands, maybe expecting something or not quite sure what's going to happen next. So you're afforded a little privacy.
Okay. So he'll move quickly to try to shield her with his larger body from the view of anybody who might be behind him, following him, watching. And very slowly, he'll unhook one of his gauntlets and he'll look to his father, between Mara and his father. And as he frees a hand so that he can grab onto that extended hand and squeeze it, he'll say, "We have to go."
And she just looks dead at him, kind of recognizing that he clearly knows something, and just kind of nods. And I think as she takes his hand, she just draws herself in closer and almost kind of looks between him and Glendon. And just as she turns back to Samwell, just as he knows, and just like doesn't stop herself from just wrapping her arms around him and just cries. And all he can hear as she's like quietly sobbing is like, "She tried to kill me. She tried to kill me and they brought me back."
He'll take the embrace and he'll kind of fold her, but try to muffle her cries as much as he can. He looks to his father and he says, "We have to go right now."
Yes, we do.
And I think Mara is just like halfway, despite the fact she doesn't know Sam